the next bit of industry news, which I think is just a nice sign that the IPO market is alive, is that Figma, the famous design software company, has filed for IPO. And this is a couple of years after their $20 billion acquisition deal by Adobe fell through due to regulatory concerns. So Figma's kept on growing since then. They're up 48% in terms of revenue year on year. They were last valued at $12.5 billion, but have traded as high as $17.8 billion on secondary markets. So hopefully their IPO will go out at around the same level as that Adobe valuation, and a whole bunch of employees and founders and investors will do very well out of it. But, I think that the more significant thing, Chris, is we've been in this IPO winter for a long time, where we've had companies doing incredibly well, growing and growing, making incredible valuations, but staying private. And it's nice to see after this time, this is probably the first real blue ribbon tech company to go public for a couple of years, probably since Airbnb or something.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's yet to be seen what the outcome looks like, right? It might be a big fizzle, and not because of Figma's fault, or because of the market, the time, who knows with these things, timing, wars, whatever, maybe the interest rates drop just before, just after. So, we'll see, given all the externalities. But yeah, Figma's an incredible company that deserves everything it gets. They're a classic example of these companies that believe deeply in something, work hard on pure technology and pure product, toil in obscurity for years until they hit on the right product market fit, and then they suddenly seem like an overnight success. And just seeing founders like that get rewarded for understanding platform shifts, investing in great technology, building great product, being patient, not trying to sell services to companies, and then just changing the game, completely changing the game with just like liquid smooth in-browser interactions and collaboration. I wish them the very best of luck. Also, our friend Yuki is over there. He was senior product leader at Uber. We had him on the show. He's the chief product officer at Figma. Just such a thoughtful guy, a sweet guy, and has shipped an incredible stuff over there. So yeah, I really wish them the best of luck. And not only for them, but selfishly for us in the ecosystem, as you said, Yaniv, if they have a great IPO, it opens the door for everybody else. It potentially expands all the valuations, and it restarts, or rather it lubricates the production line for startups and investments and outcomes. So good news all around.
And yeah, I think it is interesting. And why is this important? Maybe just for folks who are less familiar with the sort of capital cycles and so on, is that in order for VCs to be successful, they need to be able to pay back their investors, right? And there is, of course, the kind of paper gains, right, where you get increasing valuations, and you could say, our IRR and so on is based on that. But ultimately, what investors want is DPI. They want distributions. They want cash back for the money they put in. And not only is that important for them, it's important for the ecosystem, because what usually happens is investors are only able to commit to the next VC fund and the next VC fund. They get cash back from earlier ones, right? It's kind of a pipeline, a virtuous pipeline. And if all the cash is caught up in these paper gains and investors never see cash, then they often say, well, I can't invest in the next fund because I don't actually have money in my bank account to commit towards that. So unfreezing the IPO market is ultimately what allows everything to trickle back down all the way to early stage, kind of unfreezes VC markets and increases confidence. So I think this is really good stuff. Just one other point on this one, Chris, is so the prospectus, the S1 from Figma, mentioned artificial intelligence over 150 times. So, everything's about AI at the moment. But I think there is something interesting here that I'd be interested in your thoughts on. And it's a little bit similar to what we were talking about with Grammarly, which is that for Figma, as for many companies, but them more than most, I would say, AI represents both a massive opportunity and a massive threat. Why is it potentially a massive threat? Think of the vibe coding tools. We've got things like Bolt.new and Lovable and all of these sorts of tools, right? That basically say, don't worry about creating designs, just go straight to building a prototype or an MVP, right? And that's a better way to kind of iterate quickly than to do just a static Figma design. Now, why is it a great opportunity? Well, because Figma has the best design tools. It has all of the designs. And so if they can add an AI layer and they can say, don't go to some vibe coding tool, we'll be the vibe coding tool. You start with a design in Figma, and then we basically create a working MVP in Figma using AI. And I believe they released the first version of that. They're still quite behind. So I think one of the reasons they mention AI so much is that they know that they've been in the scheme of AI where everything is moving very quickly, they've been moving a little bit slower than some. And that needs to change because they need to be the place to do all of the AI magical stuff. Otherwise, they will slowly leak mindshare and users to the places that can.
Yeah. So, any massive platform shift introduces massive new opportunity and massive new risk for the incumbents. If you think about Google Docs when that came out, it was junk compared to Microsoft Word. But the insight they had was that the web is the new platform and collaboration is the killer feature for the web. And so they started to win just on the back of easy collaboration, lightweight document authoring. And then in the fullness of time, they added all the features or many of the features that Word had, and they maybe not disrupted Word or killed Word, but certainly found an equilibrium with Word and took a massive market share. The opportunity and the risk for Figma is they disrupted, Photoshop and Sketch by basically the same insight, which is the web is the ultimate place for software, collaboration is the killer feature, and they worked their way to the ultimate sophistication that a Sketch or a Photoshop or whatever had. But now they're being subject to a new platform shift, which is AI is the platform shift, and kind of suggesting what you want with a few words is the killer feature. It's being able to skip to prototype is the killer feature, and so yeah, their opportunity and their risk is that their competitors are saying, screw all of this fine-tuned design nonsense. Speak a few words, we'll generate a prototype for you, skip all the design stuff. And Figma has to quickly say, no, we're the vibe design tool that can lead to vibe coding, but you get all of the fine tuning with us too. You get to get in there and move the pixel and move the thing. And to do their risk and their opportunity is to do that at a pace, to add vibe design and vibe coding, high quality vibe design and vibe coding, faster than Bolt and Lovable can add high quality fine tuning and sophisticated levers and affordances for you to get in there and move things around. And so that Figma's coming from the top down and Bolt and Lovable are coming from the bottom up. Historically, this game is hard to win. It's hard to win, and the best you can achieve an equilibrium. Like Microsoft shipped absolute goddamn garbage web stuff, still garbage, which painfully I have to use every day for some of the startups I work with. And it's there you go. We've got good enough online collaboration. We can now survive in the web world. And so they sort of stopped the hemorrhaging and are able to play on the web. Figma needs to at least stop the hemorrhaging, or at best beat back some of the market share erosion to these other players.
Exactly right. And, I don't love the word vibe in this context because I think vibe implies that sort of looseness. And what you're talking about is that precision and control. In the dev world, you've got the vibe coding tools like Bolt.new and Lovable and V0. And then you've got the AI assisted IDEs like Cursor and Windsurf and Claude Code, which isn't even an IDE. And these are tools for developers to be able to do more, right? And so what we're actually saying with Figma is, if Figma is like the Visual Studio Code, it's like the IDE without the AI, how do we add AI in there before the vibe coding tools are actually able to provide good design functionality? So it's sort of like top down versus bottom up. But right now, I would say by the standards, which is very fast moving, the world's moving very fast in tech these days, Figma have been a bit slow off the mark on AI. They are not leading in that space. And so it's going to be, we mentioned Yuki is fantastic. It's going to really be a lot about their ability to execute at pace without compromising the core of their values and their quality for their user base. And that's going to be a subtext to this whole IPO.
Yeah, a fun side note. The same thing is happening for our favorite tool, Yaniv, for the podcast, which is Descript. Descript is one of those fine-tuned environments that is easier than like Pro Tools and Adobe audio editing software is. It was the web collaboration version of these heavy-duty audio editing tools, with a little bit of AI actually in there and a lot of collaboration. But they're now aware of and responding to the vibe editing phenomena. And so they've actually flipped their interface to be sort of vibe first. There's a prompt right on their home screen. It's like, what do you want to edit today. And our poor editors, Ethan and Justin and the team, they're like, WTF? Where did you moved all our shit around? And so they're having to wrestle with the innovator's dilemma. We have users who are trained up on our stuff. How fast and how far can we move to make this AI first and break the UX metaphor? And their answer in this case was, fuck it, shift everything because we need to keep up. We don't care about Justin and Ethan. We care about the next million users, right? And whereas Figma's been a little bit more ginger, a little bit more careful, and they have to find their pace and deliver this stuff quickly.
But I actually think Descript are slaying it, right? They're doing everything right. And I know, Justin, you had a very late night because of all of this stuff. But if you look at it as a business, they're moving very fast. They have provided a tool that is not only something that is faster for professional editors to use, but turns everyone into an editor. I would nearly describe it as being like Canva for like audio, visual, spoken word stuff.
That's where they want to be.
They're moving very, very fast. I would invest in their IPO before I would invest in Figma's IPO. If they're selling shares, let me know if you're listening, folks from Descript. I'll buy some shares. I think they're doing very, very well. And yes, they have that little bit of innovator's dilemma, but they're just pushing right through it. And the amount of stuff you can do in Descript and how quickly you can do it is truly exceptional.
But, we're sorry for our editors. Those are our thoughts on the Figma IPO and the capital markets in general. What do you guys think? Jump down in the comments and let us know your thoughts.